Hey guys, welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are taking a look at quarterback Kirk Cousins for the Minnesota Vikings. What is his fantasy outlook heading into 2020? And looking back at 2019, what can we expect from Kirk Cousins heading into this season? Now, Kirk Cousins isn't the most exciting candidate by any means. Most people have completely written him off from a fantasy perspective, even though, up until last year, he has been a quarterback one for the most part over the course of his entire career when he is the starter. So I think he may actually be a forgotten man at this point, and is all the more reason why you can continue to wait on quarterbacks, because he's pretty much undrafted at this point in most PPR single quarterback leagues. Now, last year finished with 3,600 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Doesn't really give you much in terms of rushing yardage, 63 yards, but did give you 2 rushing touchdowns. And he did miss one game last year, something to note. But again, nothing really exciting. 250 fantasy points, 18th, 16.7 fantasy points per game. That's 19th, so he really wasn't much more than a streamer. Last year finished with 4 weeks as a top 12, give you another top 6, and a 1 top 3 week against Detroit where he put up 29 points. But again, anytime a quarterback doesn't finish inside the top 12, it meant that you could have streamed someone else at the position. So not by any means a quarterback that you're able to rely on. And a lot of that had to do with the massive volume that they gave to the running game with Dalvin Cook there, completely dominating in the running department. And overall, just having a pretty good defense, not really getting into a lot of game situations where Kirk Cousins did have to come on and throw a lot of passes. You can see here had games like against Atlanta where he only had 10 passing attempts, or games against the Raiders where he only had 21. So as the Vikings were winning games, not a lot of that had to be on the back of Kirk Cousins. So keeping that in mind, they lose Stephon Diggs, which is not going to be good for Kirk Cousins, but they do add one of the best wide receivers in the class in Justin Jefferson, a guy that had over 100 receptions with Joe Burrow and LSU last year. They do still have Adam Thielen, who was hurt a lot last year, expecting a healthier year from him this year. Now, a lot of people are expecting Dalvin Cook to play the whole season. We're still actually not out of the woods yet, even though he's reported for training camp. Technically, with the way the CBA is structured, he only has to show up for training camp. He can still miss a good portion of games and still accrue a season. So we could have a Melvin Gordon type situation with Dalvin Cook if they do not get a deal signed by the time the season starts. So keep an eye out for that. We'll get into more of that in the Dalvin Cook video. All that to be said, the Vikings also saw a mass exodus of big name players on defense. So they've gotten a lot younger on defense, but I'm expecting their defense to take a step back. So Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw the ball a bit more this year. I'm expecting there to be an increased amount of targets and attempts for Kirk Cousins this year. So if he's able to maintain the kind of efficiency that he had last year, he is going to be a value in fantasy this year. Last year, the Vikings were 31st in terms of team pass plays per game. Another reason why Kirk Cousins wasn't a consistent fantasy asset. He maintained 110.6 true passer rating, which was number 5, 76% completion percentage, number 5, 40% deep ball completion percentage, number 10, only 13 interceptable passes in the entire year. That's less than 1 per game. Absolutely ridiculous efficiency there. 8.2 adjusted yards per attempt, which is number 6, 7.4 accuracy rating, number 8, and 0.48 fantasy points per dropback. So if we see even a small uptick, 10-20% in the total number of pass plays per game that this team has to throw the ball, and Kirk Cousins is able to continue to maintain this type of efficiency, it's going to end up being a very good thing for his fantasy production. Now, again, losing Stephon Diggs will hurt, but I think Justin Jefferson can take over that role. And with Adam Thielen hurt most of last year, if he can play well, Irv Smith also could take on a bigger role as the season goes on. So I'm really excited about the potential for Kirk Cousins. It's not someone that I'm going out of my way to draft, but I think the upside is there for someone that you can get in the last round of your draft. So if you're in a league, or especially in 2 quarterback leagues, don't forget the name Kirk Cousins. He's the reason why you can continue to hit wide receiver and running back early on and not have to worry too much about quarterback, even in 2 quarterback leagues. And as someone that we're going to probably look at in the waiver wire pretty early on in the season, especially if he hits. So someone that you can just keep in the back of your mind. If you keep waiting on quarterback, just keep waiting and need a guy in one of the last rounds because you kept punching the position. Do not forget Kirk Cousins' name. I think he actually has a lot of hidden upside. So right now we have him projected a little under 4,000 passing yards, but could very well tip over that mark. 28 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions, about the same rushing production. That puts him at 272.1 fantasy points, which is basically in a giant tier of other guys at the position, but his draft capital right now where you can get him is so much cheaper than a lot of the other guys that we have ranked right next to him. He's just one of the better value plays amongst quarterbacks in the league. So really like the potential for Kirk Cousins this year, just based on where you can buy him. If you're in a bigger league, 14-team leagues, do not sleep on Kirk Cousins this year. So that's my take. Hit that like button if you guys like this. Hit that subscribe button for more videos like this one. And also hit me up in the comment section with any thoughts or questions below. We'll see you guys in the next video.